Untied. Hello, everybody.
Hi, we're back.
Yep, welcome to season 2 of Untied Talk. This is where we love to hang out. Honestly, I've really been enjoying this.
It's been so much fun. I mean, initially I thought with all the changes that it would be very different, but it's actually been really nice, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so too. I mean, change always brings something different
It really
all
does.
the time. Hey.
It does. I mean, no one likes change. I think this is why we were both nervous about it. But I think we're doing well.
I think so too. I think change is inevitable. Change comes with any kind of growth. Yeah. And we're talking about culture. And
Yeah.
I just thought, and I've literally just thought of how culture is changing.
Exactly. It constantly changes.
It's constantly changing. And even as we figure out stuff as we go, we still adapt to our culture. Yeah,
Yeah.
somehow. So today we're talking about generational differences. We're going to be looking at the generations before us, and we're going to look at ourselves, and we're going to try and look into the future based on our own observations, right?
Yes, and I mean, when you think of our children and
Yeah.
what they're like and that sort of thing. Interesting.
It is interesting. Let's
catch
go way
everybody
back
up.
first. Yeah.
Because we did decide we'll be a bit deliberate about that. For those watching on YouTube, in the center, on our centerpiece, we have Mwenawajwa scents, made from essential oils, handcrafted, locally made, Zimbabwean. And then in the back here is a bit of both Wadzi and myself. It's a painting that I did for my 30th, where I got different people to paint little squares, and then I put them together and did one holistic painting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
I know, and you've got this thing for butterflies, right?
I do.
I mean,
wanna
they
have a
mean so
butterfly
much,
house.
right?
What?
I wasn't ready for that. In my mind, God, you know where my mind went? I went,
Culture.
how does a butterfly house come to be? Anyway, let us not digress. Let's go back to culture. Butterfly house. Gosh. You need to draw it for me so I can visualize what you're saying. Because right now, what's in my mind, guys? It's not... Ooh, Shem. Yeah.
We're allowed to dream.
We have my generational differences, but that's how they come in, isn't it?
Yeah, actually, I think we have a lot of dreamers in our generation. The good dreaming, where you actually have a vision of where you want to be, what you want to do, and you dream of something better. Then just dreamers that just dreaming.
Because I mean,
Not
imagine
doing anything, no working and stuff.
Imagine Yombuya dreaming of a butterfly house.
Yeah.
Think about it. How would people react? Like, I know I reacted this way, but imagine in her time. What would they say?
It wouldn't even have been possible because of exposure and because of priorities and how busy they were.
You went
I think
far,
those guys had a lot of
Co-perception. Why do you want a butterfly house? Butterfly in Dochi. Do you know what is butterfly in Shona? If we even go that far.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah, we should check.
I know, right?
On a very serious note, we have so many differences when you
Yes.
look at all the generations.
We do.
Because of circumstance, because of beliefs,
Yeah.
exposure, background, and stuff like that. So if we try and go as far back as we can, I think people just did what they knew. They did the best that they could with what they knew, what they thought was best. And it is unfair for us to be judging some of the things they did, some of the decisions they made. Because I know some. That's why I
Can
said
we
some.
judge just a little? Just a little?
I don't know, because I think to them, that was 100% wisdom. That was full-on wisdom for
It's
them.
just the way it is.
And that's all they knew.
Ndozvinoitwa.
Ndozvinoitwa, exactly.
Zvakaitwa nana sekuru wana mbuya wangu. Ndizvozvo.
Izvozvo. You know?
Yeah,
there's this funny joke, I'm just paraphrasing, where some lady continued to put some certain type of pot in the oven, I think. because it was from her Mbuya and stuff like that. Then this Mbuya visits and it's like, why are you using that? No, Auntie Mimi, I wanna. And she's like, no, I didn't have an oven. Like we used the fire and stuff and stuff like that. It doesn't get old. I'm saying this not to make you laugh, but just to show
I know,
how
but it's
many
so
things,
funny
no
though.
matter how silly, how many things we just continue to just take on from previous generations, even though they don't apply to us.
Yeah.
And not to then, we shouldn't then laugh at what measures they put in place for survival and stuff, because that's what they could do, right? But I'll totally laugh at someone now doing certain things. Like, if someone has barika today, I'm like, dude.
No,
What's
but
going
see,
on?
when it comes to that, I think this is where we think differently.
What
Guys,
are you
this is
thinking?
my opinion, ka?
Yeah.
But I would not hangu cope in a barika. I would not cope.
Yeah.
But I get where barikas came from. I get why some people still do it today. It's not for everybody, but I get it.
Enlighten me.
Okay, so I mean, it's like we all know what we like, right? So, and this is raw and tied. We just talk, and now we're touching on things that are coming further down. But you know how, for example, you'll have people that want to try things like threesomes, right? Personally, I do not want because I'm selfish. The thought of just
Sharing.
what is going to happen? What am I going to be doing while the other two are doing what they're doing, right? Like, to me, it makes no sense, right?
Yeah.
But there are people that love that and thrive in a space like that, right? It's the same thing with barika and relationships. I would prefer, if I had to choose between someone with a small house and being in a barika, I would prefer barika because I know, right? I know kuti baba vanengwari pano say Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Tuesday, Thursday, I know I've got me time. I can do what I want, right? But this is kind of
I get what you're saying.
I get where it's coming,
I
where
get what
most
you're
people
saying,
come from.
but then that's some form of settling, and that
But
doesn't
is it
make
really
okay.
settling? Because there's some women that appreciate it.
Yeah,
Especially
and
those that like their space. Is it really settling?
okay.
Because
I
then
will
also,
respect what other people like. I personally would not do that.
and I get that. I
And
wouldn't.
I just
wouldn't
still
do it.
think
I
it's
can't.
kind of ancient, and
I'm
it's
selfish.
just it's just a good excuse to just fan your lust.
But
Unless
who said that barika was wrong? Let's go back there.
I think it was a bit on the wrong side.
How?
Because, first of all,
Go on. It's
Lord.
untied, Baba. Say what you're thinking.
it has some form of disgust that comes with it.
Like what?
Like, why you want to be sharing and going down the whole line? And like, I don't know. That's a different thing. And that's
a
everybody
whole
has their own
conversation.
opinion. And I'm sure some people did it just to keep the family together. Like now, if someone's husband dies, and then you inherit this wife. Mm-hmm. Versus, no, you just want 1,000 wives because,
But you know how barikas work? The man will say, "Ndakufunga kutsvaga umwe mukadzi." And it's a joint effort. So Vahosi is involved in finding and approving who's going to come number 2.
So you're as much as you understand it. If Fungai rocks up today and says, dude, ndafunga utagam, you'll help.
Ah, bodo. That's why I said to you, for me, it's not for me.
Yeah.
Because I'm selfish. I can't share. And I like attention. So it would not work for me.
Yeah.
It would not work for me at all. But I get those that do. I think, though, I prefer barika to what we have now in this country, Yema Small House.
The small house.
Yeah, and it's exactly the same thing. Pane vasikana vanotodada kuti ma-small house. Though in my mind, ndotoshaya kuti zvinombofamba sei, right? So those generational differences now, if we take it back to what we're talking about,
Yeah.
Kudara, the women would not kind of dada kuti ndiri small house yemunhu,
But the main wife would be okay with there being 1,000 other small houses. And she
not
would
small
just,
houses, because he would come and say ndakutsvaga umwe.
okay, that's like way back. And then let's move up a bit to those moms.
Vari pakati apo.
Anagara ndozvinoita imba,
Izvo
shinga
hapo
shamwari
do.
ndozvinoita
Kana.
varume type thing. Why do you think that generation saw things that way? Why do you think, because they're still there, why do they see things that way?
I feel like there was a whole concept yekuti, sorry ndakukata, but I feel like there was a whole concept yekuti appearances.
Okay.
Kuti what is said out there, because mchato wakakosheswa beyond what it should be. Not saying that mchato is not important, but I mean the actual piece of paper was given more value than the institution itself.
Okay.
So appearances, kuti andinganzi ndakarambana nemurume, or andinganzi ndiri, because there was judgment on. If you were divorced, you would be judged for being divorced because you were probably the problem or whatever. That's what society did. And it goes back to this whole issue. We took on this patriarchal society thing, which was never our own. Before, we were a matriarchal society, right? And we did things very differently, where women were honored. And somewhere along the line between colonization and where we're at now, it changed.
Now they're being oppressed.
Exactly. And if you look at... I think if I don't have my facts wrong, I will double check with my source.
Okay.
But if I don't have my facts wrong, women at that time also had the power to have more than one husband.
Really?
If I don't have my facts wrong, I will check and I'll come back to you on that one.
I will definitely ask you about that.
Yeah. So it's appearances and also no empowerment.
Yes.
No emancipation. Like there was no freedom to say kuti if I was to leave Baba John, ndinoenda ndichinorarama kunzoko, So my mbuya would always push kuti mukadzi anofanirwa kuita mari yake ega. Kana uri kutengesa matimati, kana uri kutengesa huku, kana uri kutengesa mavheji, whatever, you should be able to have mari. Kana uri kusona, uri kuruka majuzi, you should be able to have kamari kako kaunoti ndekako. Because kudhara it was nyaya iyoyo yekuti baba ndo anoita mari. Saka iwewe uri stifled, mombe dzinonzi ndedza baba. Because Mandiri wealth was counted by cows. Ndedza baba, and you don't have freedom to do anything. So you leaving would mean you're now destitute.
Yeah, and there's no security and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. Although I know a few really wealthy women that will have like amazing posts in life who still have this mindset. So it was passed down, but people have the power.
Appearance.
People, I guess, maybe it's tying your worth to this relationship at any cost and stuff. But what I have noticed is that we can never know one's full story.
No, that's true.
And because I don't think it's okay, it doesn't mean I get to laugh at someone's situation or judge them. And it's just something that I've had to respect, to just mind my own opinion.
True. Because that one is hard though.
It is very hard, especially
when you can see the damage that's happening.
Like abuse and stuff like that, and to the point of death. And next thing is like, I want to empathize with you, but I really don't know why you are not using your power to free yourself. And I think it's our generation that, but then we were not taught this. Our mothers did not teach us
to have power.
No, because they also had that mindset. So where did we get it?
It's what we're exposed to.
It's what we're exposed to.
Okay. So, for example, it's like how now our children know about things that we didn't know at their age. When we were younger, we would never have dreamt of thinking about some of the things that our kids know about. But it's literally, they know these things because of what they're exposed to. Makatun nema TV, nana DSTV, nana Netflix, away. I sound like such an old person. But
well, we are in our 30s, so
I refuse. Hey, I'm still not old. But yeah, like, though I think 20-year-olds will think we're old.
I'm sure they're like these grannies.
Anyway, but I think that it's literally exposure, what we've been exposed to. I know I've always had conversations with my mom about gara shinga whatever, and I'm like, but why? And then my mom would come in more with your what does the Bible say? Right?
About what?
Izvozvo zvokuti divorce or kusiya munhu or whatever, and only now that she's gone through a process of Bible school and she's looked at the Bible and the word differently and has been forced to look at it from different perspectives, I think her mind is now open and she takes things very differently. Before, you could never talk about things like divorce with my mother because she'd be like, the Bible doesn't say that, or things like that, right? Whereas now, she's more open to, because God is love. And so why would God want you to stay in a position paunorowa? You know, where you could potentially
The point
die.
of death, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So she's now more open to things like that, where she will then kind of say, kuti, you know, or even kuti, telling someone to go and get help. Go to therapy. Go talk to someone. Before it would be, no pastor ku church. But we know now, kuti, a lot of people run away from that because of most pastors don't have counseling skills.
No, they don't.
They just, you know.
And they also need help themselves.
And then they tell you what to do instead of help you through what you're going through.
Yeah.
So she's now literally, her mind has now literally changed. And it's because of going to Bible school as well as being exposed to different people. Before I started going to an academic conversation about Chikristu.
Yeah.
There would be emotions and people would get into their feels, guy.
Okay.
Where you'll be like, and I like poking the bear. Like, I will be the devil's advocate.
Yeah.
And I will just be like, you know, just think about it from a different perspective.
Yeah.
And with that, at most times, question a lot. So when I got married, Parora, it was Doshinuitwa. And I'm like,
Why?
Why?
Yeah.
Explain it to me. Break it down for me. Why must it be done this way? You've known for years I don't believe in this process and I don't believe in A, B, C, D. And it's like, yeah, I thought it changed. I'm like, nah, you took me to the school that opened my mind. And at no point have I ever given you any ideas to say that I think differently. This is how I think.
Yeah.
And he couldn't explain certain things to me. He couldn't. Why does it have to be that?
Why does it work out like that?
Why can't my husband come to you and say, "Good day, I've got this gift for you to honor you as the parents of my wife," and and that's that.
Yeah.
And he couldn't respond.
Yeah.
And then after it, he said, "It would be nice if your husband had asked me for your hand in marriage." And I'm like, you kept harping on about Rora and Lobola and going through that process. Now you want to take the Western side. How does that work? Because technically you don't meet him until Jese Japera Azodezonzim Kwasha Gachuya. Timon. Saka, how? Where was he going to ask for my hand in marriage?
You know what?
If this is what we're saying culturally.
The thing is, a lot of this comes from a very conflicted position.
Yeah.
So we want to do cultural stuff. Our parents wanted to do that. But then at the same time, we've been exposed to other stuff that we also see, this works. But we still want to do this other stuff. But like you just trying to take a position where you say, this is what I'll do, has just been a very interesting thing, which is why we sort of don't have like a tangible cultural thing to follow. It's all been diluted because
it has.
People will pass on a bit of culture, but I still want this thing because it works, right? So it then just, it dilutes everything. And then I just thought of something that you said just now, and where you said exposure. I also think observation is something that changes how other generations see or saw things. So if I saw my mom being beaten up and stuff like that, she might have had the mindset of "Ndugarra monangu" type thing. And I'm actually like thinking, no, but dude, just seeing things differently and then seeing that, no, this thing does not work.
See, can I add a flip side to that?
Yeah.
There's some that will then say, I won't know that you love me unless you hit me.
Because
that's what they know, right?
That's what they know.
So the lens is affected by what it is that you see and your resilience.
Unfortunately. And unfortunately, this is something that unless the particular individual wants certain help, there's absolutely nothing you can ever do to save someone from these situations.
Wanting help and knowing you need help.
Not a question, because also
do you know?
Do you know, and do you know what you're supposed to do as well? because counseling itself, like you mentioned, kudara, it's like it's for the weak or ndezvevarungu or stuff like that, and
Black
then
folk
also
don't do that.
they don't do that, and then unfortunately a lot of hurt, like those that would seek counsel, like you said, my churches and stuff, a lot of heartbreak, because then those are the people that will stone you, and those are the people that will spread,
That will judge
and
you,
it's like,
and you
what have
hear
you
it in
done?
the streets, and
Exactly, and it actually makes it even worse.
or you're ashamed.
Exactly, they'll
Because
stone
if we
you.
bring in church into church then and church now,
and now
wakangoita nhumbu chete uri mukwaya wakutogariswa
Stones.
pasi kana kutodedza onzi uyu akaresva akanonhingikirina akaita, and it's your business is publicized. I mean, yes, already it's publicized because you've got
well,
the
that one,
for it.
I was gonna say,
But I mean, like, then you would actually be, I've seen churches where vanomisa munhu pamberi pechurch paya voti zvoni nhingikirina aresva ari kumbira ruregerero blah blah blah.
I think it doesn't it depend on the position of the person. Like if they were a leader, then it's giving an account. You're being accountable for what you have done. But that's not for us to speak because. But I would also want to say, past generations honored their pastors differently than now. Kudara, they would literally worship, and even now there's some that still do. And whatever the man of God says is fine now. Bakuru havabvunzwe type thing. Now it's actually like, dude, we can all hear from God.
Vakuru havabvunzwe. That's a big one, that one.
And it's in the families as well.
Yeah.
So, and respect, levels of respect and how things go, it has been changing because there's some of our parents who actually don't want, like my dad always used to say to me, never kneel in front of me. Ukaona murume anokupfugamisa, this person is setting you up for operation.
Wow.
So
really?
we never used to serve him like that. I don't serve my husband like that. But there's plenty men, his generation, who hammered this thing, will feel disrespected, and that's them.
But then also on the flip side, there's some women that want to do that. I have friends that will feel like they have not honored their husband enough if they haven't come and chonjomarad pamberi, or not chonjomarad, pugamad. Forgive me. I told you season 1, episode 1, disclaimer. Fugamad Bamberi, kuti, isn't those. Even whenever I say Maita Simboti, my husband looks at me like.
You see, the guys now, they don't even like that. Except a few.
That do.
Yeah, there's some traditional ones. Do. And I hope they found traditional wives because, yay.
Yeah, exactly. And then he'll look at me funny. So the other day, so now lately I've been doing it. I'll be like, hey, Simboti Maita. And the other day, Adana goes, Mashta Simboti. He burst out laughing. It's like, thank you, baby. But he burst out laughing because he was like, oh my God.
Like,
it's little Preston.
Do you know what you're saying?
Exactly.
So coming to these little people, they're also learning different stuff. And their generation is going to be totally different from ours. If you look at language, mine refuse to speak Shona. Like, I will speak to them in Shona and it's like, they'll hear me and they don't want to respond in Shona. That's just it's a small example of how things are going to change. And I wonder what their life is going to be like. I think the liberty and the freedom that has come with this change and generational difference is totally just, and this level of wokeness that's just going around.
In Naunga, I'm struggling with it. The other day, I asked my mom and my gran, and I'm like, how do you tsura mwana to the point where I don't see the difference between being cocky and being confident? Because sometimes the statements that come out of my 11-year-old child sound very cocky, but for him, he's just being confident.
He's being confident, but then now going back to, I don't know what advice she gave you, we just are parenting differently. Yeah, the way you were raised and the way they were raised and the way you are raising your child now.
Totally different. She said, unofana ungomugarisa pasi womutsura pasina vanhu but unomurakidza unoexplain a difference yekuti cocky sounds like this, confident sounds like that. But still, to this day, I'm like, I don't want to say anything and then crush his spirit because that has happened to me a lot. And we can talk more about that when we talk about community in episode 3. Because that's happened to me quite a lot where chivanu chino pinzwa panguwa where it's not necessary. Oh,
but how
God,
do you know?
So bougie just now.
How do you know when it's necessary and when it's not? Because I think each generation has sort of minimized some sort of behavioral pattern, some sort of tradition that's going around. So we can minimize things they did, because it's like, what? That's backward. What? I would never tolerate something like this. What? They will minimize the same way they minimized our feelings when they were raising us up. Where would you ever
It still happens,
express?
though.
Yes,
It still happens.
Who cares what you think?
It's not about what you think. Urimana.
Exactly. Even if you're right, and they will not apologize and stuff like that. That's just so.
But
now
you
we're
pride zvine culture izvozvo
Zine culture
culture yei
because haumubvunzeka.
yange iri pride
Ndosaanga afunga
iyoyo. No, but if we look at the roots of that, root pride iyoyo. Because if you think about it culturally, what was the reason behind it? If you're saying they were trying to curb rudeness, maybe I could take
But
that.
then-
But zvine pride.
But okay, it's interesting you say that. How about the whole bit of kupembedza bad behavior? Like, I remember when I was younger, I had interesting behavior, and and you get people saying, and your parents saying, "Andozvari, I'm saying, guys, uyu mukamusamngise because anopwanya chakati, ndozvari ane hasha." That's what I mean. That's what I mean.
Encourage.
Exactly. So they did that though. Wouldn't they say, Anna? Yeah, I almost said someone. Some totem, yeah. There's some known tribes.
No, but
that
it's
are known
okay.
for
You're not specifically attacking a person. It's a totem,
No,
and
them-
it's got traits.
They know themselves. Vangorine to hasha so. Vanongonzana ningi ndo zvavari.
Wangosvika panzvimbo. Wangovhurumutsa
And then at the
zvinhu.
same time, you're talking about how do you then tsiura. It didn't look like it was they ever tsiurad anything. It just always looked like they would just blow up this bad thing. Like, ndozvari, uyu, yeah. And avajahiririke vana ndozvavari type thing.
Okay, which is something that now we are changing.
We are
Because
changing 'cause
don't,
we're trying to-
Well, we try. Some of us try.
Not everybody knows though.
You know, another thing I just thought about.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know if that falls under community or not. Whenever we would be on a bus and
Yeah.
there's a naughty child, my mother would even be like, Iwe!
Munhu wese aikwanisa
You know,
kutsiura.
but
Now
now-
it's like, what you gonna say to my kid?
Are you talking to my
I
child?
will deal with
Do
you.
you know my child?
Mwana ayantokupindura, in fact. Sometimes you don't even need to step in. Like, I know Anika.
pane ndakatonzwa mai vacho akati ndinokurova reketsa zvauri kuita zvikanzi iwewe mama kundirova inini haumbondirove because she spent 5 years asingarove mwana zvikanzi dai dhedhi wangu ari panapa dhedhi ndo anondirova iwewe kundirova haundirove. And even kutaura like that, like I would be like,
How are you gonna say that to your mom?
how are you speaking like that? Like utoti iwewe kuna mai vako. No, I don't think I've ever used that word.
No, but yeah,
The
that's
language itself.
the language itself.
And how to say, so for example, I'm always frowning when Fungai, when he's talking, he'll say things like, right, whatever, right? But he's talking to, like he could be talking to my dad or his dad or whatever, and he goes, right. And I'm thinking, Iwe, do you know who you're talking to? You can't be saying things like that, right? Because in my mind, I'm like, language has to be, you have to remake it.
But
So
do you
it's
know
like,
the fathers
Makadi,
now
Muri
have
saying.
changed? Like, I know Wadi, my kids call him by name.
Yes. I know.
And he's absolutely cool with that because he doesn't define respect by Magadi, Baba type
Yeah,
thing. So fathers now are totally different. And it's cool and it's working for them because generational differences, right? At the end of the day, I just think people are just going with what works for them.
I think so.
And you can choose to be stuck in a belief that works for you. If it works for you, then by all means,
I guess I like
you
how
just shouldn't
you.
force it on others. Hey?
Yeah, I like how you've rounded it off and kind of brought it up because in my mind I was thinking we kind of touched on a lot of things.
Yeah, we said a
but
lot.
it's to highlight the
difference
generation
in-
differences, right? How it was done then and
Yeah.
how it's done now. And I think the most important thing is do what works.
Do what works for you. Do what you can. Because
Yeah.
now when you've learned something, you can either do something about it and decide, I'm going to do this, right? This is the new tradition I'm going to start with my family. Because you're carrying the name also. And these older ones are not going to be there to come and dictate and sort of like...
It's about creating your
to
own
do stuff.
traditions
It's
in your
about
household.
creating your own traditions and just deciding what are your values.
Yes.
What's going to carry you. What works
Yes.
for you and your family. Or
Yes.
you as an individual, if you're not
Yes.
married. Your society, your support system. What support system are you going to give? One day, I'm going to be a mother-in-law. One day, you're going to be someone's tete. And it's like, What kind of a that are you going to be?
What culture am I going to bring forward?
What exactly?
Talking about data, I can't wait till that episode. But I mean, it's things that you have to make a conscious decision about.
Yeah, that's true. Constantly as well.
Yeah.
Constantly as well. This is Untied Talk. I'm Wadzanai.
And I'm Tare from us to
To you with love.
Bye.